The diamond tennis bracelet is a classic gift. It's a beautiful piece of jewelry, and here are a couple of tips you need to know when you're looking for the perfect one for you. So the term tennis bracelet actually comes from Chris Evert, who was a famous professional tennis player. In the US Open 1987, she was wearing a tennis bracelet and it fell off mid-match, and she actually stopped the game to look for the bracelet. And from there on, it was considered a tennis bracelet. Tennis bracelets come in a lot of variations, and essentially what that term refers to is just a straight line of diamonds that are connected by very minimal metal. And there are several types of settings for the tennis bracelet to consider. My personal favorite is just our delicate 4-prong setting. I think you see minimal metal. We kind of keep our settings as low profile as possible, as little metal from the top, whereas some of the sort of old school jewelers have chunkier settings. You see a lot more metal. They actually sit higher off your wrist so they don't stack as nicely. So these are things to pay attention to when you're looking at style. Other common settings would be a bezel setting, which is going to have a perimeter of metal around the stone. This is really pretty, especially if you're doing something in a colored metal, because you get to see a lot more of that color. So in yellow or rose gold, this would be especially beautiful. It also tends to make the stones look a little bit bigger. So the benefit of the bezel is that maybe you can go down in the carat weight and still have that amplified size look. Another setting that's common, but also a little bit more old school, would be a channel setting. And here you're gonna have a row of metal along the outside of the stones, but it doesn't necessarily showcase the diamonds as nicely as just a sleek prong setting would. Generally, when we think of a tennis bracelet, we're thinking of round diamonds, but they come for all different shaped stones, including something like this that actually uses multi-shaped diamonds. The round is probably the most traditional and also the most everyday and approachable piece. So if you're looking for something to kind of stack and wear with a watch or wear with other bracelets you have for an everyday purpose, I do think the round sort of serves that best. So the piece can feel very casual. In that case, you might want to keep in mind smaller carat weights so that it doesn't really overwhelm for every day. But if you do go with larger carat weights, it can definitely feel like a special occasion piece. I actually wore a tennis bracelet for my own wedding. Mine was my mom's that I borrowed. It was my something borrowed. And mine was a variation of this, but had 5 rows of diamonds connected. It's 3 rows of diamonds. It gives you the look of stacking with just kind of the convenience and ease of wear of one clasp. And this is a really good way to sort of amplify the look of a diamond tennis bracelet, make it feel a little bit more special occasion, a little bit dressier, and a little more formal. Something new we're doing is incorporating color into tennis bracelets, and this concept isn't new, but we're trying to do it in more fun and casual ways. You know I'm such a rainbow fan, so I would wear an entire stack of rainbow up my wrist, but if you want to kind of just incorporate a little bit of color into your everyday, we're doing our Dainty tennis bracelet in all different birthstones, sapphires, amethyst, ruby, and this is a really good way to incorporate a birthstone or just color into your everyday. If you're wanting to go a little bit more traditional, something like this that sort of alternates diamond and sapphire or diamond and ruby is also a really great option and kind of makes it feel a little bit more different than the traditional tennis bracelet. And then one of my new favorites that I'm calling a tennis bracelet, but it's not really a tennis bracelet, is our star bracelet. And it just kind of has the same concept. It's 1 row of diamonds interrupted by these really cute stars. And this is another just kind of great everyday piece and actually stacks really nicely with a tennis bracelet if that's something you already own. The tennis bracelet doesn't have to feel so serious. We do carat weights starting at 1 carat total weight and up. So obviously the smaller the diamonds, kind of the more casual it will feel. And if the tennis bracelet isn't for you, mostly because it kind of moves around and some people don't like that tactile feel, bangles are always a really good alternative. They offer a very similar look, but it's a little bit harder, a little bit more durable in terms of kind of everyday wear, And definitely for stacking, a bangle is always a really good option. So for the tennis bracelet quality, the major things you want to pay attention to are obviously the sparkle factor. You want these stones to really sparkle and, you know, reflect light. And then as you get into bigger stones, you may be able to see imperfections if the stones aren't of a high clarity. So basically just pay attention to, are these stones eye clean? And in that case, I think that's totally fine. Things to remember are that stones of this size wouldn't generally be certified. So you should buy it from someone you trust, of course, and you can always ask for an appraisal on a piece like this. To measure your wrist size, this is important because most tennis bracelets will be like a 7-inch standard length, and a lot of people either need shorter or longer than that. I generally recommend using any tape measure you have at home. Wrap it around your wrist tightly, and whatever that measurement is, add about 1/2 inch, and that will give you just enough wiggle room. If this is something you may want to hand down later, it's always easier to remove links than it is to add them. So you may even want to get a longer length. That way you have the option to add stones later on, and you can always have it shortened by any local jeweler. Pricing is going to start around $1,800 and go up from there. So this isn't an inexpensive piece, but it is something that you're going to have forever. So you should definitely consider, if the next size up is only a couple $100s more, is that something you'll be happier with long term, in which case it may be worth going to that next jump, just so you have longevity with the piece. So tennis bracelets make a great gift. It's something you'll have forever. You can wear it every day, you can dress it up, dress it down, and it's definitely something that you should get your bracelet stack started with if you don't already have one.